My name is Jennifer.
I'm Laura.
Okay.
We were Michael's sisters. We created this walk on behalf of him, in memory of him, for tinnitus. We have a couple people here to support us for the walk. We have some guest speakers today. Thankfully, we have a nice day. And this is all about Michael for today. This is in memory of him. He was suffering with tinnitus for close to 20 years. He wasn't able to cope. We're here now in support of him and support of everybody that has tinnitus. And hopefully we'll find a cure soon.
I'm Lou Medina, and great friends of Michael, beloved Michael, since '77. And so we met back when all of our schools converged into one high school. And I think it was probably around football practice where we were all getting together. And so that's probably my first meeting of Michael, but we've become fast friends, same likes, music. He was a great drummer. And then, we've done some concerts together, and over the years, just become great friends. In fact, rode motorcycles together. We had a big camp and canoe party upstate we'd go to, and then learn to, love his family, because go over there for some great picnics and barbecues. And Michael's always a connector. So, in fact, he introduced me to my current wife, and, he just knows how to put people together. And I've been out of touch with people from high school, and Michael was always like, hey, this person said hello, or that person said hello, and I'd say, hey, say hi back. But, Michael was a connector, and, that's just the type of guy he was, always wanting people to get together and have a good time.
He was like such full of life, and he had so many good friends and so much great things happening in his life. He had so many interests and so many things. That it was, and like what you had just mentioned, like, he introduced you to your current wife. It's like, that's such a wonderful person,
He really is. He cared about people, but he was suffering with this disease.
Yeah.
And I've seen the ups and downs, and it's sad, because I do remember the last time I saw him, and I knew it was really getting to him. In fact, our upcoming canoe trip is always in a big camping canoe, loud with music and bands, is always in late June. And I saw him a couple weeks before that, and he just wasn't quite Michael. And I didn't recognize it, but he was in suffering. He still wants to go on a trip, but the music's loud, and he wants to put earplugs in, and he wants to use his devices. He still wants to ride his motorcycle and play in the bands.
When you have a passion, you had the passion, right?
But, at times he had to, drop off some of the music here and there, but then again, he's feeling good again, and he's doing these things with the earplugs. But again, suffering as he suffered over the years, I hope that other people find help, and that there's more help out there today. The more awareness there is, the better. So,
and he suffered. He suffered in silence, and you don't have to today. You know what I mean? You could talk about what you're going through, and go and seek the help. And before you do something, you know what I mean? You could find and talk about it, and get that help.
Fran here has been a great friend of Michael as well. So I met Fran when Michael was doing some KISS concerts. In fact, I think that was over at the local
Jamaica Resort World.
Yeah, Resort World, which is a nice new venue.
KISS Alive NYC.
So going to see Michael all dressed up with his buddies and in his gear, it was just fantastic. So that's where I met Fran, and she's done a lot for Michael over the years. I see the great photographs, and she's a friend, and just her love for
do anything for him.
Yeah. So
you're a saint. She's a beautiful lady, beautiful. She has a great heart, beautiful person with a beautiful heart.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, as a friend too. I mean, besides that, I'm here covering and doing a little video work for you.
Thank you
it's just
so
like
much for
I walked into it out
it.
of kindness too. I was like, she went to go meet Gene Simmons with Michael, and Michael was there, and she asked, "Oh, could you video as me and my friend Michael are gonna go up there?" And I just did it out from my heart. I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll take pictures." And I took some pictures for her because she couldn't hold the camera. And that's how you find the really good people in life. You walk into that situation.
Yeah.
No, I want.
Thank you, Fran, for
Bye.
putting
I
this
wanted
party
you to
together.
say a couple of things too, so you hang on and come right back.
Okay, let him finish.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so finishing up with Michael, I want to thank you for talking with me. I know.
Sure.
Okay,
Well,
but-
again, you know, Michael's family, they're like family, and you know, I'm glad that they still contact me, and I still contact them, and you know, we get together when we can, and we're sorry that it's for this event, but then again, we got to make the best of what happens thereafter, which
But you know
Michael
what?
will want.
It's like he's looking down on us,
Absolutely.
and he's remembered, and he was loved by you and your friends and his friends and family, and it's a wonderful thing that they're doing for them, for him, you know, and his remembrance,
Yeah.
you know, and the remembrance of him.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for speaking with me.
Sure.
You know, God bless you, man. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up here and helping us, you know, make awareness of this disease and remembering Michael.
I'd like to welcome you all to our second Tinnitus Walk of Long Island in memory of our brother Michael Haar. Thank you all for coming out and being with us today. Unfortunately, we had a last-minute cancellation from our musician Fran Cozzolino from Frankie's Attic. We apologize, she's not able to join us. I'd like to thank Michael's friend, Francesca, who helped Michael and was there for him. She had the idea to create our first walk last year with us and work with us again this year. One thing Michael had said in the tinnitus support groups was that he wished more people knew about tinnitus, and he wished someone would create a walk like they have for other illnesses. And here we are. We have t-shirts, bracelets, vinyl decal ribbons available for purchase to spread awareness about tinnitus. Also, we have raffle items courtesy of Fran, including a gift card raffle and 50/50. All proceeds from our sales will be going to the American Tinnitus Association for research purposes. Tinnitus is a very common thing to have. It affects an estimated 50 million Americans. Almost 1 in every 6 people have tinnitus. For most, the condition is an annoyance, but it's tolerable. In severe cases like Michael's, tinnitus can lead to tremendous health and mental problems, causing people to have difficulty concentrating and sleeping. It may interfere with work and relationships and result in psychological distress, including depression, anxiety, and more. The purpose of today is to learn how to avoid getting tinnitus, and if you have it, how to learn best to manage it so you can lead a normal life. The other purpose of today is to remember my brother, a friend, a son, an uncle, a nephew, and a cousin, Michael Haar. He was a talented musician, motorcycle enthusiast, and overall great guy that unfortunately had suffered with severe tinnitus for nearly 20 years and was not able to cope. Michael had a passion for drumming since he was 5 years old. He was in many bands throughout the years until most recently with a Kiss tribute band, Kiss Alive, New York City. He also had a love for vintage motorcycles and was featured with his bikes in a couple of magazines. He would often neglect to wear ear protection when at concerts, when playing drums, when riding his bike. He originally developed tinnitus because of a noise-induced incident that could have been prevented, and it progressively got worse through time, turning into hyperacusis and pulsatile tinnitus. He didn't want to give up his 2 passions, music and motorcycles. That was his life. We hope through time, research will find a way to relieve the millions of people suffering so this does not happen to anyone else. Michael is with us in spirit, and he would have been so happy we are all here fighting this terrible disability for him and everyone else suffering, with hopes of finding some relief soon. On a positive note, we are very lucky to have some great guest speakers here today to talk about tinnitus and provide us with some insight. I would now like to introduce Anthony Manella, a Long Island representative and support group leader for the American Tinnitus Association, to speak about what tinnitus is, the ways people can get it, and the best ways to manage spikes.
Thank you, Jennifer. I thank everybody for coming here today. And thank you, it didn't rain. We thank Michael. But you know, I've been with the ATA for a number of years, and I just would like to thank the Haar family for what they've been doing for the last 2 years on behalf of Michael. Stephen Haar couldn't be with us today because he had a procedure, so all our prayers are with him for a speedy recovery. Jennifer and Laura and Mary Ann, and I've spoken to Francesca, who's she's given so much of her time and love and support for tinnitus. So yeah, I'd like to start off by talking about myself a little bit and how I got involved. I was an electrician, and in 1987, I was working at the World Trade Center. I was laying out some work, and they had fellas that were using these high-powered guns, ceilings, when they install these ceilings. And as I'm laying out, this noise was coming down, and I was exposed for it for about 2 weeks. And one morning when I woke up, all I heard was a loud ringing. The Venetian blinds just looked like a slot machine. I didn't know what was going on. So I immediately went to the doctor. I attempted to go to the job, but I turned around and I went to a doctor, and he couldn't find an ear infection. So after about a week, I was directed to go to see an audiologist, an ENT. Upon taking a test, he said to me, well, you got perfect hearing. You have a sensatory hearing loss, he says to me. He says, you know, but you have what is known as tinnitus or tinnitus. It's a Latin word. It comes from to ring like a bell. That's what it means. So when a person says tinnitus or tinnitus, it means the same thing. So he says to me, so I said, well, what is this? I says, what can I do to get rid of it? He says to me, well, there's nothing that you could do about it. He says, you just have to learn to live with it. And I looked at him, and I in shock, and I says, I got to learn to live with this. And so that set me on doing a lot of research, and I went and I found the ATA, and I got in contact through the ATA with Lisa Kennedy, and she, 40 years ago, had this tinnitus support group going on in the hospital over in Franklin Hospital, which is now the Long Island Jewish Hospital. And I would like to acknowledge her. Lisa Kennedy, she's works along with me at the tinnitus support group. If it wasn't for Lisa, okay, I was such in a panic mode, I just can't tell you. It got to the point after I educated myself, it happened to me, this was 1987 that this happened to me. So I did go back to work. And when I did go back to work, I was on light duty, so to speak. I couldn't climb ladders because I had a dizziness going on, a lot of different things going on. Seeing neurologists, seeing a psychologist, seeing a psychiatrist. I did all of these things to see how can I get rid of this tinnitus, what's going on here. So finally, I decided I got to get involved with the ATA. And as I'm at the meeting with Lisa, and then I've been going to that meeting now for 20 years, Lisa, somewhere around there. She's been doing this for 40 years. And we've had meetings where we had up to 25 to 30 people. And now we don't get as many people because we have the internet today, and too many people are looking at the internet. And the bad side of that is that they get into a lot of stories of, unsuccessful stories and people complaining. They don't look at success stories. I like to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I like to, what tinnitus is. It's a ringing in the ears, a perception of, the person who has a tinnitus, he's the only one that hears it. It's not like, you're walking with a sling, and that you could see that there's something wrong with this person. And so when the person says, I have this ringing in my head, other people who don't have it and they don't understand it, they think the person, well, gee, and what happens is they sort of like panic over it, and they get really desperate. I'm on Facebook now, and I see a lot of people. I take calls 24 hours a day. I tell people at the meetings, call me at any time. The ATA refers people to me, and there are people, when they get to that point where, and I was at that point myself, believe it or not, where I wanted to end it. I couldn't deal with it. Because what happened to me after I learned everything about it, it was in a year before I was going to retire. This would also get into other things about tinnitus. I had an ear infection. I immediately went over to see a doctor, and he gave me a medication. He says, listen, you have to take this medication. Well, the medication he gave me was an ototoxic medication. So there are a lot of medications out there. You have to be careful. You have to really do your research. Some of the medications could be temporary, all right, as far as, when I say temporary, I mean the tinnitus, maybe a side effect. It may last you for a week or two, and as you, when you stop taking the medication, the tinnitus will go away. But there are ototoxic medications out there, which he had given me, and he knew I had tinnitus. And so then when I got up the next morning, now it's in the brain, tinnitus is in the brain, okay? But all of a sudden I heard a loudness in my right ear. I always figured it was on my left side, but now it was on my right side. I called them up, I called the ATA up, and I asked them about this medication, and they said, he shouldn't have given you that medication. That's a very ototoxic medication that I got. So as a result, the tinnitus had gotten a lot worse. So you know, how do we avoid tinnitus? All right. And so I've learned. I still have tinnitus, and it could be annoying at times. It's there 24/7. It doesn't go away. I can truly relate to what Michael went through. But what I do is I wear ear protection. You know, I have a set of earplugs that I got from an audiologist. I got 2 sets. And, you know, when you go to a wedding or any loud event, when you're exposed to 85 decibels or above 85 decibels, you're doing damage to the hair cells. There are thousands of hair cells. You have outer hair cells and inner hair cells. And so once they get excited, or once these hair cells, it could be through loud noise, once again, through medication, all right? It could be through stress. Tinnitus comes in a lot of different forms. It could be diet, anxiety. So, you know, once you have that, you have to learn to not go when you're in a loud place. I was at a wedding one time, I forgot my earplugs. I was just telling Paul over here, I says to him, so I found the bread, and I took the bread, and I made 2 dough balls, and I put them in my ears. And I hate to, yeah, you got to do what you got to do is right, because it's very important to have ear protection. For those of you, I'm just curious, how many of you have tinnitus? Okay, so there's maybe about 10–15% of people have tinnitus. It's very distressing, okay? And I can't emphasize enough and how important it is to take care of your ears, and if you're in a loud place. Because like I said, when you're exposed to the above 85 decibels, and once these hair cells, which are thousands of hair cells, when we're born, they're standing straight up. But as we age, they start to go down. But a sudden noise, like a gunshot, or whatever it is, it can destroy those hair cells. And once they go down, we know that they don't restore. And when they don't restore, people start complaining about a sound that they're hearing. It is coming from the brain. So when these hair cells go down, the brain is trying to compensate for the loss of the hair cells. So this is some of the things that, you know, when I talk to people. It's really funny. Yesterday, I'm so involved with this, and I'm so, it hurts me so much because I know so many people that I see fellas working with the jackhammers and stuff like that. I went yesterday into to get some Chinese food, and I had this fly. I would say for everybody, especially for those that don't have tinnitus, please take some of this paraphernalia that they got over here. The tinnitus over here. This is the tinnitus pamphlet. Please take that with you. Read it. There's a lot of information in this pamphlet over here. So I walked into the restaurant, and there was a fellow there, and he had a headset on. He had his head down, and I could hear the music. It was so loud. I went over to him, and I was talking to him. He couldn't even hear me. I tapped him on the shoulder. And I knew I was there for a reason, and I gave him this pamphlet, and he says, "Gee, I never heard of tinnitus, and it's affecting a lot of people." And let me just read something over here that I came across in the ATA. And another thing, the ATA, the American Tinnitus Association, is the one. I would say they are doing most of the research. They're doing a tremendous amount of research. There are a lot of other companies out there trying to come up with something, but the ATA supports a lot of research, and a lot of money goes into it. And they've been doing this for many, many years now. To me, it's the only organization that I truly know that really is trying to come up with a cure, or at least lower the sound. Now, there are many things that one can do when you have tinnitus, and that would be to, if you have tinnitus, masking devices. We're fortunate enough that today, and Mr. Haar got Melanie Hertzfeld, Dr. Hertzfeld, and I can tell you that I've heard so many wonderful things about her at my meetings, and a lot of people, they've been helped through the Widex maskers, and I might be seeing you pretty soon, but only because a lot of it is age-related. But here's an article that I was reading. I can't see it a little bit over here, but it's public awareness of age-related and acoustic trauma has also increased. A larger proportion of the population is now affected by hearing loss and tinnitus. We are also seeing more tinnitus as well as some noise-related hearing loss among younger generations, which is likely the result of long and repeated exposure to high-intensity sound levels produced by modern technologies in our society. In addition, with increasing life expectancy, age-related hearing loss is also affecting a larger proportion of people compared to the past. Hence, the urgency for a cure to address the needs of this growing population with hearing disabilities has attracted more interest from pharmaceutical companies. These companies have begun their own research internally, as well as increased their funding of academic groups to support their research lines. This increased attention to addressing hearing defects has thus been very beneficial and has contributed to scientific progress over the past 5 years. So you can see what they're saying is that this situation with tinnitus is not getting any better. It's getting a lot worse because people are living longer. So it's very important to, take note as to what's going on. And yeah, I'm just going to wind up right now. But just, because we do have little speakers. But there are other things. You have the tinnitus retraining therapy, and I told you about the Widex. And there's something coming up recently where they talk about regeneration, high frequency therapeutics, okay? Which is they want to go into the inner ear and they put a gel, because there's a gene in there, and they would regrow the hair cells. So the thing in technology today is to try to regrow the hair cells. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know, but let's pray that it does, because there's a lot of people out there that are truly hurting. So I want to thank you, and I'm thank the Haar family for all that they do.
Our next speaker is Dr. Melanie Hertzfield and Dr. Diana Calisano of the Hearing and Tinnitus Center in Woodbury, New York. Dr. Hertzfield is a leading audiologist and specialist in treating tinnitus. Dr. Calisano is here today to speak about the latest treatments and potential cures regarding frequency therapeutics in Massachusetts and the research being done at the University of Michigan.
I'm very short. Can you hear me? It doesn't sound like it's on.
No, it is on. It's on.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. So I recognize some of you, and I want to start by saying that Torin Brazel from the American Tinnitus Association asked me to express her sorrow that she couldn't be here. Unfortunately, she's in Britain. I don't know if that's so unfortunate. She's actually at the British Tinnitus Association, and hopefully she's having a few good days also. The worst words that a patient with tinnitus wants to hear when they go to see a physician are, learn to live with it, there's nothing to be done, right? And that's unfortunately what a lot of people like to say. The advent of all the musical instrumentation, the games that we give our kids from birth, has resulted in a large number of children having tinnitus today. So whereas, 20, 30 years ago, it was more an adult kind of thing, more those people who were exposed to loud noise or ototoxic medication, we're now seeing it as young as 3-year-olds. There's a message there, and the message basically is we do need to protect our hearing as much as we can and make sure that those devices that we're putting in our kids' ears are not played loudly, because that's where the biggest issue comes, when they blast their ears to shut everything else out. I should start by telling you that because I'm old, I'm starting to transition down and working fewer days. So Dr. Calisano has joined the practice, and so she's going to actually taken over the practice, and I now work for her. She's going to come and talk to you about some of the latest technologies. Besides frequency therapeutics, there are neuromodulation, music therapy, combination devices of all different kinds, and she's going to present information on those.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Haar family for having us here and for hosting this event in Michael's memory. As an audiologist, I cannot begin to tell you how frustrating it is when our patients come to us, and generally it's either a last resort or they have searched far and wide for a resolution to their tinnitus, only to have been told that there is nothing that can be done or that they're going to have to deal with it. But dealing with it does not teach coping strategies, nor does it help to retrain the brain to the tinnitus. It simply fuels these feelings of hopelessness and lack of control over this condition. Not only do I not agree with this, but this also couldn't be further from the truth. There is no current medical cure for tinnitus. However, there are many proven and evidence-based therapies that have been shown to significantly reduce the emotional burden of tinnitus, allowing people who suffer from tinnitus to get back to enjoying life, working, enjoying time with their families and friends without the tinnitus being a predominant issue. Founded by Dr. Jastroboff and Dr. Hazel, tinnitus retraining therapy combines the use of sound enrichment in conjunction with directive counseling to retrain how one thinks and perceives their tinnitus over time. As the tinnitus signal becomes less noticeable, the reaction also lessens. It does take time. It is not something that happens overnight, and we are very transparent about this and upfront with this about our patients. TRT has been shown to have about an 82 to 86% success rate across randomized studies. It has also been shown that sound therapy in conjunction with counseling is more effective and results in longer sustained benefits as compared to sound therapy alone. So the counseling part of it is really crucial. It's not just about putting sound into somebody's ears and sending them out the door. I mean, it is a very involved process and it requires a lot of follow-up, but typically the patients who we see coming back to us do report benefit over time. At our practice, we certainly incorporate tinnitus retraining therapy with a variety of sound therapy tools to help our patients. And sound therapy comes in many forms. It can come in the form of a tabletop sound generator, combination devices, to other customized sound enrichment tools such as Desynchra or Neuromonics. The introduction of external sound into the ear often helps to lessen the brain's perception of tinnitus. So it's not a matter of making the tinnitus go away, but it's how your brain perceives the tinnitus. And when something becomes less perceptible, we stop reacting over time. Oftentimes, hearing loss is the underlying cause of tinnitus, and therefore in cases where amplification is appropriate, these devices can be helpful in addressing both hearing and tinnitus needs. While these methods have been successful for many patients, there is still universal hope that one day there will be a cure. In a recent study led by Dr. Susan Shore and her team at the University of Michigan, it was demonstrated that somatosensory neurons in the brain remain hyperactive after exposure to noise. So basically, when you have any type of noise exposure, whether it's a concert, a wedding, a loud event, there is other activity in different pathways in the brain outside of the auditory system. But what's crucial is that those pathways enter a very crucial part of the central auditory system. So it has to bypass the dorsal cochlear nucleus. It's a spot in the central auditory system. And because those pathways remain hyperactive, Dr. Susan Shore and her team suggest that by using a device to quiet those pathways, they can also lessen the perception of tinnitus. Her team is currently recruiting patients for phase 2 of this study, and so it remains to be seen how this information can be applied for tinnitus relief. It has also been widely accepted, as Mr. Manella said, that tinnitus starts as a result of some changes in the ears, usually damage to the hair cells. Modern science has shown us many things. We can transplant organs, we can reverse visual deficits, but as of yet we have not found a way to regenerate hair cells in human cochleas. However, there is a team in Boston, a company in Boston, Frequency Therapeutics, and they have devoted their efforts to exactly that. So they have, using cell engineering, they're trying to inject or I should say insert molecules into the inner ear that stimulate growth in the hair cells, and their pioneered cell regenerative medicine is looking at various ways to help spark this change in the inner ear, which hopefully will reverse hearing loss and tinnitus over time. These efforts are but 2 examples of the continued attempts by researchers and medical professionals to eliminate tinnitus. And while there is a hope that a cure is within reach, we must also remember that there are many options for those who are struggling here and now. So if you do know somebody who has tinnitus, or if you have tinnitus yourself and you aren't sure where to turn, please know that you have professionals out there, you have support groups that are out there that are there to help you along the way, and we're always here to assist. Thank you.
Okay, next we have a Long Island representative from Widex, Allison Brown, to discuss how their products can help tinnitus patients deal with their challenge.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out to support the Haar family and the American Tinnitus Association. My name is Allison Brown, and I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Widex USA. Widex is one of the world's 6 major hearing aid manufacturers, and the U.S. headquarters is right here on Long Island in Hauppauge. Widex manufactures the most natural sounding hearing aids because our unique processing algorithm is so different. We've also developed a unique patented tinnitus solution that no other manufacturer can duplicate. It's called Widex Zen, and it's extremely effective in helping people habituate to their tinnitus, not to just mask it out. Like others have said, tinnitus is defined as a ringing or similar sensation in the ear. It's also been described as a humming, a buzzing, music, roaring, a whooshing, a hissing, and there's a variety of other sounds that people use to describe their tinnitus. It can occur in one ear, both ears, or be centralized within the head. And there are hundreds of causes of tinnitus, including hearing loss, but unfortunately there's no absolute cure. However, therapy has been proven to offer significant relief. Over 50 million Americans experience tinnitus. For most, tinnitus is mild. Some, it can interfere with their life, but for more than 2 million Americans, it's catastrophic and debilitating. If you ask the general population, like you were asked today, about 15 to 20% of people would report they've experienced tinnitus. But if you've asked the same question to hearing impaired individuals, the percentage jumps up to 70 to 85% of those patients have experienced tinnitus. So why is tinnitus so prevalent in people with hearing loss? Hearing loss deprives the brain of expected sound stimulation. When the brain is deprived of sound stimulation, the auditory regions become more active, and tinnitus may be a result. And there are other causes of tinnitus as well. Exposure to loud noise, we know, causes tinnitus. Earwax or middle ear disease, TMJ, cardiovascular problems, diseases of the inner ear, like Meniere's disease, side effects of medication, those ototoxic medications cause tinnitus, and high blood pressure can cause tinnitus as well. There are also aggravating factors: stress, aspirin, caffeine, salt, tobacco, loud noise, alcohol. Some of my favorites, they cause tinnitus as well. While tinnitus is not dangerous, it can have a very negative impact on sufferers. They have trouble sleeping. They can develop a dependence on drugs like anti-anxiety medications or sleeping pills. They become frustrated, depressed, and often feel despair because there's no solution for their tinnitus. They can suffer a loss of concentration and confusion. They're susceptible to pain, headaches, and muscle tension. They become easily annoyed, aggravated, and irritated. And they can have a very high level of stress. Stress and tinnitus are very highly correlated. As your stress increases, the tinnitus sensation increases. As the tinnitus increases, your stress increases. It's a very vicious cycle. And again, it's a very complex problem which doesn't have a definitive cure, but there are a lot of treatment options available. First, seeking help is the best plan. You want to find a hearing healthcare professional who's trained in tinnitus treatment. The Hearing and Tinnitus Center in Woodbury, where Diana and Melanie work, it's one of the premier treatment centers in New York. These ladies are amazing with patients, and they know their stuff inside and out. When you meet with your professional, they're going to evaluate your tinnitus using tinnitus questionnaires. They're going to measure your hearing loss, because a lot of patients that experience tinnitus do have hearing loss. They're going to measure the tinnitus, and they're going to set up an individualized program utilizing techniques to minimize the impact of the tinnitus. Tinnitus treatment often includes sound therapy. There are maskers and sound machines which can offer white noise and environmental sounds to help mask out the tinnitus. The masking signal is louder than the tinnitus, so the tinnitus seems to diminish or be drowned out. Hearing aids are also frequently used. Many people with hearing loss find that hearing aids alone offer relief from tinnitus simply because they're hearing the sounds of the world around them. Hearing aids can also offer a tinnitus solution within them. Even patients that don't have hearing loss can get some relief from a hearing aid. There are also tinnitus apps that are available to you. The Widex Zen Tinnitus app offers a variety of sounds, relaxation exercises, a sleep timer, and personalized adjustments. The goal of sound therapy is habituation. Habituation is different than just masking. Masking uses the sound to drown the tinnitus out. It's a temporary solution, but the problem is ongoing, and the tinnitus remains over time. With habituation, the brain is trained to allow the tinnitus to blend in to the environmental sounds so it no longer stands out. So if you think about a candle in a dark room, it's lit up, it's very noticeable, and it's very bright. But if you flip the lights on, that candle, which is just as bright, doesn't appear to be as bright because it's diminished. it's less noticeable, and that's habituation. Combination devices are the best choice to help treat tinnitus. They improve the hearing if there's a hearing loss. They decrease auditory deprivation and send sound to the brain. They reduce the contrast to the quiet because they amplify the sounds, and they reduce fatigue and stress. The Widex hearing aids have the Zen solution and a combination of sound and music. Most hearing aids with a tinnitus feature use masking to assist the tinnitus. The Widex Zen is much different. It provides musical sound stimulation through Zen musical tones. The hearing aids provide amplification as needed, and the Zen tones are clinically proven tool for tinnitus management. Music is used because music can affect physiological responses. It can change your heart rate, blood pressure, respiration rate, but music can also evoke emotions. Hearing that song from your favorite summer might make you smile, while movies use foreboding music to make you feel suspenseful and scared. And playing music when you get a massage is going to make you feel relaxed and calm. Music has a very strong effect on people, but that's active listening. What Widex Zen tones do is they promote passive listening. These Zen tones use a chime-like musical tone, and they're based on musical characteristics optimized for relaxation, and fractal technology to ensure predictability without repetition. So the fractal tones are musical, but they're unpredictable, so they don't evoke an emotional response. The Zen tones provide relaxing sound background. They reduce the annoyance of tinnitus, increase the ease of relaxation, improve concentration, provide a distraction, reduce stress, can be used with or without amplification, and personalized adjustments are available. Widex Zen has been proven to help reduce the annoyance of tinnitus. 100% of the patients in a 2010 study using Widex Zen tones reported the decrease in their tinnitus symptoms. So if you need help with tinnitus, please contact your local hearing professional, the American Tinnitus Association, and you can also get more information on widex.com. Thank you.
Our last speaker is one of the Long Island's best physicians, Dr. Neeraj Kaushik, to discuss how to avoid or manage stress and negative thoughts.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Yep, okay. So I'm not a tinnitus specialist, I'm a gastroenterologist. And I am sorry that Steve's not here. He's a dear friend, and I know he's very passionate about this, and he's also been my tennis coach, and he teaches tennis to my daughters also. And he knows that I do, my first passion is gastroenterology, and I think that pays the bills. And my real passion is teaching people how to manage stress and deal with stress. And that's why he invited me here to talk to all of you today. I really enjoyed listening to the speakers before me, and the previous speaker was talking about stress and tinnitus, and really I think it struck me how, like in many chronic illnesses, the higher our level of stress goes, the higher the manifestation, or the more severe the manifestation of the disease become. And Steve sent me some things to read regarding tinnitus and stress, and I that kind of piqued my interest, and I read some things, and it was interesting for me to know that in an Egyptian study, only 25% of people suffering from tinnitus said that they had minimal to no stress in their life. 75% said they had moderate to severe stress. In another study, the degree of the stress in your life correlated with the severity of symptoms of tinnitus. So, not being a tinnitus specialist, to me it becomes clear if we can have tools and techniques that can help us manage our stress, dealing with the symptoms of tinnitus or dealing with the chronic process of tinnitus may be helpful. So, I'm not here to lecture. Most of you probably know everything that I'm talking about. And I think it's important and will be more helpful if this is interactive. How many of us feel some stress during our life, day-to-day activities? So nearly everybody, right? And what could be a definition of stress? Anybody? Blood pressure, fine. So,
Sense of foreboding.
sense of foreboding. Sorry? Real estate issues. Financial issues. So things that worry us, right? Things that worry us, things that bother us. In one way, the way I kind of define stress, and even to my patients with a lot of chronic GI illnesses, is when we feel that our ability or our capacity to deal with what we are given to face is not up to what we are about to face, right? So if we have less energy, more is demanded of us, most of us will feel some stress, right? Yes? Okay. So is it possible for us to continue to decrease the demands that are placed on us? Not really. Yeah. So what can we do to handle the demands that are placed on us? The only option that we have is to really increase the level of energy that we feel, right? And if you look into it, there's two things. Another kind of definition of stress is when the body and the mind are not in harmony with each other. Yeah, if life is happening where? Right now. But if all of us notice the tendencies of the mind, one of the tendencies of the mind is to either be in the future or to be in the past. Yeah, many of you are here physically, but some of you are thinking, oh, I wonder how the traffic is going to be when I leave. When I leave here, what do I have for lunch? Right? So the mind is in the future. Or sometimes it's really in the past. When we think about the past, what comes up? Regret, anger, guilt, feelings of romanticization. Oh, the past was so beautiful. And when we think about the future, worry, trepidation, fear, right? So our mind is constantly vacillating between the past and the future, whereas life is happening right now. And it's very hard for us to bring the mind to the present moment from the level of the mind. It's not very easy. So things that we can use, we all have a very tangible tool that we can use to bring our mind to the present moment. And when we're in the present moment, our energy automatically increases, the level of stress goes down, and joy increases. Because if you've seen children are usually in the present moment. You know, if they're angry, they're really, really, really angry. If they're happy, they're happy. They can play with the same toy over and over and over again, and they're still joyful. They can watch the same movie 10 times and still laugh at the same jokes. We, as we grow older, we kind of lose that ability. So one tangible tool that all of us have is our breath that can help in bringing the mind to the present moment. And the way I look at it, I think of it as a kite that's flying in the sky. That's our mind. The string that connects the mind to the body is the ball of string that the kite is attached to, and the string that's connecting the kite to the body is the breath. And usually what happens with our mind, somebody comes and says something to us, oh, your black shawl looks beautiful, and your mind expands. And they says, but I don't like the way your hat is facing backwards. And then you say, oh, and the mind contracts. And so somebody comes and says anything, and our mind goes. It's basically like our kite is flying in the sky, and a gust of wind comes and goes one way, then goes another way. So how do we control that mind? We can control it using the breath or the string. So would you all like to learn some breathing techniques? Very short, quick, short breathing techniques that may be helpful, yeah? Okay. So before that, also other things that decrease stress or increase our energy, 4 very important things, 4 most important sources of energy in our system. Sorry, I'm being paged. So 4 very important things that have to do with our energy level. Number 1 is food, the right amount of food, the right quality of food, the right time for eating. Number 2 is breath, and we're going to do some breathing work that can really help increase our energy and decrease stress. Number 3 is sleep. again, sleep is very important. You know, the right amount of sleep at the right time. If you sleep for a very long time, the next day you feel tired. If you're not sleeping for 3-4 days in a row, all of us feel very irritable, angry. And the fourth thing is a calm, meditative state of mind. So those are broadly the 4 categories. If you pay attention to those 4 categories in your life, you'll see where stress is affecting you and what you can do about it. So in terms of breathing techniques, kids or infants, when they're born, they know how to breathe. And as we gradually grow older, we start to lose that. Anybody that has little infants has seen when they breathe in, the belly goes up. When they breathe out, the belly goes down. So it's called diaphragmatic breathing. As we grow older, most of us start to suck in our belly, so we're always like this, and we start breathing from our chest. So the first thing to do is to take a breath in. I would say keep your hand on your belly. You can all keep your hand on your belly, and as you breathe in, feel the belly expand. As you breathe out, push the belly back towards the back, to the spine. And you may find that some of us, as we are breathing in, the belly is going in. As we are breathing out, the belly is going out. So let's try again. Breathe in, pushing the belly out. And breathe out, bringing the belly back towards the spine. So once we've done that, the next step is to then increase the breath to include the chest. So let's all again breathe in, blow the belly out, keep breathing in till you expand the chest completely, and then breathing out, contracting the chest, bringing the belly back to the spine. Yeah? So that's called a full yogic breath, where you're using the entire muscles of the diaphragm and the chest to expand and contract the muscles. Usually, we only use about 35 to 40% of our lung capacity when we're breathing daily. And the breath is a very important tool where a lot of toxins and stress can be released from our body and our system. I also volunteer for a non-profit organization called the International Association for Human Values and the Art of Living Foundation, which teaches stress management techniques and breathing techniques, specifically a very powerful and ancient breathing technique called Sudarshan Kriya, which teaches specific rhythmic breathing patterns, and in 3 short days over 3 hours each day, in a weekend workshop, people can learn a half-an-hour practice that you can do on a daily basis. And once you start practicing it on a regular basis, you will see how the quality of the life starts to improve, the energy level increases, stress level decreases. And for anybody suffering from chronic diseases or even living in our modern day-to-day life where there's so much stress, it is very important for everybody, I think, to have some tools on their fingertips inside their body that they don't have to go to a place, or you can practice these tools and techniques at home. So anybody that's interested, I'm going to ask Jennifer, maybe she can have a link on her Facebook page. We hold these workshops pretty much every 6 to 8 weeks, usually in Jericho, Syosset, different places in Long Island, and it would be very helpful for people. Is my time done? Okay. She says I have a couple of more minutes. How many people would want to experience a little bit of calmness of the mind? Okay. So what I would ask you is just, maybe it's easier done if you all sit down and just find a place to be comfortable. Standing up may be a little bit difficult. Just sit down for about 5 minutes. You can sit on the grass, you can sit on a bench, and we'll all do an exercise together, and I think you'll see or at least feel something that I'm talking about.
Just cleared the room.
Okay. So let's all sit easily and comfortably, and let us all close our eyes. Let's all close our eyes. Let's take a deep breath in and let go. Again, take a deep breath in and let go. Listen to the noises around you. Sound of the traffic, my voice on the microphone, the wind rustling through the trees. Accept all the noises. Take a deep breath in and let go. Become aware of your body. This body is a very precious gift given to us by nature. Honor and respect your body. Take a deep breath in and let go. Become aware of your thoughts. Whether good thoughts or bad thoughts, let them come. Accept all the thoughts. Now you're in harmony with your thoughts. Take a deep breath in and let go. Become aware of your feelings, whether pleasant or unpleasant. Accept your feelings as they are. Take a deep breath in and let go. You are peace. You are joy. Take a deep breath in and let go. Become aware of your feelings. Become aware of your thoughts. Become aware of your body. Become aware of the noises around you. Slowly and gradually, at your own time, you may open your eyes. How many people feel a little calmer, a little more settled than 5 minutes ago? Good. Give yourself a big hand. So what we basically did was a gentle guided meditation that lasted about 5 minutes. And you can see that by the regular practice of these techniques, by breathing techniques, by having a meditation practice, we can really start to deal with the stresses and learn to live in the present moment with joy, with enthusiasm, and with happiness. And no matter what chronic illness or what chronic disease we may have, we can still live a full life. How many would want to do that? Great. Thank you very much. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to all of our speakers who were able to come out here and provide valuable information for us today. Let's all regroup after the walk as winners for our raffle will be announced. At this time, we are going to begin our walk to end tinnitus. Dr. Neeraj will be leaving some cards on the table if you'd like to take, and I'll be adding a link to the website. Okay, we're going to be starting our walk now.
Everyone for coming. It was a wonderful group of people that showed up, and we had some great speakers, and I hope to God this will help tinnitus. We need a cure. There's too many people suffering, and I just want to say thank you again.
Yes, thank you everybody for showing up, turning out, our online viewers. Thank you for viewing and supporting us. You know, we just hope and pray for the best.
I wanted to ask though, you guys, how can they get in touch with you guys and find out some more information and maybe get involved with the Tinnitus Foundation or the foundation to benefit?
I'll have the speakers here today. I'll share some of their links to their websites, how you can get in touch with them on Facebook, Silence Was Stolen, Tinnitus Awareness. So contact us through Facebook, and I'll post some links, and we'll be posting some videos of today's event on the site as well.
Yeah, Jennifer did a great job on today in doing all the speaking and introducing everybody. And the website that she created, the page on Facebook, is phenomenal. My sister just wants to help spread the word and help, because that's all we could do. We miss Michael, and this is really for him.
Today was for him.
Well, he's definitely up there looking down on us, and that you did such a wonderful thing in remembrance of him, and his spirit and your passion shows with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.